You're listening to Where You Live with Gene and Tony.
Welcome back to Where You Live with Gene and Tony. We're talking about here in this first hour what has been offered by AARP, a homeowner's Bill of Rights, specifically for those living in homeowner associations.
Right. This does not apply to single-family homeowners.
Yeah, and one of the things that was stated, there was an attorney who said after reviewing this list, he said he understands that sometimes there are conflicts that arise between residents in an association that are not adequately addressed by state laws, regulations, or the governing documents of an association. He said the AARP in this Bill of Rights have outlined 10 key principles that provides a sample statutory language that states can follow when developing laws. So what he was saying is the way these things are written right now are good enough to just be dropped right in there for...
Well, they're good. Yeah, they're good guidelines, maybe.
And I think what you and I are saying is the goals behind these are good.
I don't know that I disagree with any one of these 10, except for the last one, which is the right to an ombudsman, because that's usually a... Yeah.
We'll talk about this, but we have, I
agree with them all. It's just half of them aren't necessary and the others aren't enforceable.
Exactly.
That's what I think.
That kind of puts it down, doesn't it,
That's
brass
right.
tacks there. And, we can talk in the second hour here with our guest, Jan Bergman, about this, too, because he was quoted and said he thought this was great. He said, if adopted, this bill will do all the right things necessary to protect the rights of the owners. He said it's time to use this bill and stop the abuse in our communities. I don't know if these things as they're written are going to stop any abuse, or as they're written that this is necessarily the right thing. Let's take...
Why don't you run through them? Just read the 10.
Okay, we'll go through. We talked about the first one, the right to security against foreclosure. Number 2 is the right to resolve disputes without litigation. Number 3, the right to fairness in litigation. Number 4, the right to be told of all rules and charges. Number 5, the right to stability in rules and charges in a homeowner association. Number 6, the right to individual autonomy. 7, the right to oversight of associations and directors. You have next the right to vote and run for office. Number 9, the right to reasonable association and directors.
That's my favorite one.
Yes, it is. Let's take a look at that one. It says,
I would like the right to reasonable state legislators and senators as well, and to reasonable Congress and reasonable judicial branch. I think I would like that right as well.
Oh, yeah, Ron White really said it well. And I think we've got...
And who's Ron White?
Ron White is a comedian, if you listen to Blue Collar Comedy. In this now, we're talking about the right to reasonable association and directors, and it states that associations, their directors, and other agents shall act reasonably in exercising their power over homeowners, but as Ron White so wisely puts it,
at any age, if your hearing starts to fail, they could put a device in your ear that'll make you able to hear as good as you could the day you were born. But let me tell you something, folks. You can't fix stupid.
Is that what we're trying to do here?
It's so true. Yes.
I think this bill, this right, among this Bill of Rights,
Yep.
for reasonable associations and directors, we're trying to legislate against unreasonableness.
You're trying to legislate stupid, and you can't. You're trying to legislate people, like you said, who are unreasonable. And the part that is that makes it difficult, it's a good goal. And again, I don't want to diminish that at all. The right for an association, for the directors to act reasonably, that's a cornerstone. But you know what? That's a cornerstone of how all government needs to act. And I don't care if it is the homeowners association, a city government, a state or federal government. You need people who are going to be reasonable. And if they're not reasonable, then the remedy is to boot them out of office.
You vote them out of office. That's right. If my definition of reasonable differs from my city council person, well, then I have to vote against that person next time.
Yeah, and if a majority of the folks feel that what they're doing is reasonable, they're going to stay. But as we saw in this last national election, a lot of incumbents around the country
That's right.
were out because people finally said, you know what?
You're not being reasonable.
Exactly. And so, but there's no law that you can put in place that says, okay, now that everyone has to act that way, that means so be it. It's going to happen.
Now it's fixed. I have to say this. These ordinances or this legislation, these statutes are on a state-by-state basis. We're not talking about federal law. Real estate is ruled by state statute. Am I pretty accurate on that? There's a couple federal laws that will also apply to real estate, but most real estate law, 99.9%, is done at the state level. So we are very familiar with Minnesota state statute. Now, there could be, perhaps Wyoming does not have a comprehensive homeowners association statute. Perhaps they could benefit from a Bill of Rights because they at least helps point out what the issues are. So I can't speak for other states, but I know that Florida has a very comprehensive state statute. I know that Minnesota has a very comprehensive state statute. So if anyone owns association unit in another state that has had some negative experiences with these things, please call us and let us know. 289-4488.
Yes, but let's take another break. When we come back, I'd like us to talk about a couple of these, Tony, that we identified as things are already written in the books that really cover this.
Sure.
So you want to ask the question, is it really necessary if it's already there? We'll talk about that and more on Where You Live. We'll be back after this.